that's another masterful part of this book, is she really set it up before the big twist to think you know exactly what happened. She talks about how, you know, their lack of funds has caused him to take this New York girl who's very urban to this small town life. And he says, and I highlighted so much in this book, which is rare for me, but she said it had been an awful fairy tale reverse transformation. And he talks about it's the worst outcome possible for my competitive wife. Competitive wife was a town of contented also-rans.
Yes.
And again, you can relate to that. I live in a tiny town in New Hampshire, and I grew up in a big city, so I could totally relate to that. But you could see all these pieces coming together of why this normal guy might have killed her. Like, did she become this cold nag because he had moved her to this place? Did the financial devastation just add to his tension to the point where he snapped? She really masterfully set it up so that you believe Amy's dead, he killed her, and here are the 100 factors that added up to why.
And also, I think just because it's a diary, you accept it as truth.
Yeah.
Like, it never once occurred to me that these could be fictional entries.
Right.
And it was believable because we all know women like this.
Absolutely.
And, like, I have been that woman at some points in my life, you know? So it's not fantastic to imagine that there's a woman who feels this way and you're watching her daily struggle with her husband. Even if she's annoying, you're like, yeah, but, you know, women are like that sometimes.
One other thing before we get to the midpoint flip of the book, and just to set the tone, she's missing. Things are coming out about him that does not make him look good. You're reading her diary entries. You're feeling like, yeah, he probably did something to her. He's getting phone calls on a disposable cell phone throughout the beginning of the book. Yeah. And he, you know, like at one point he looks at it, he closes it, and I think it's either the police or her parents, the first time it happened, they say to him, you really need to answer every call.
Yeah.
With the cell phone, I don't know about you guys, but the chapter that ends with him sitting in his sister's house and he gets a text on that phone, and it says, I'm outside, open the door. I thought it was going to be Amy because his narrative of her was how nagging and controlling she was. And I thought, did they set this up to get money out of the parent? And I really wanted it to be her, but as it turns out, he's having an affair.
See, and this is, you know what, though? I did not think that it was Amy. Like, I could see how somebody would jump to that conclusion. I did think that it was going to be another woman because, you know, who doesn't answer every phone call in front of other people? Cheaters. Okay, so...
what I'm saying is you're set up for a twist, right? So him cheating is, I think, what we were supposed to think. Right? Because it's obvious. So, yeah, I thought that too. But then as he kept ignoring it, and I have in my head hearing what other friends have said who have read it, there's a twist, still thinking that Amy might be dead. I'm thinking, could this be the twist? Could it be the two of them? And I was down for that. I was like, okay, I'll go along for that. But that's not the twist.
Right.
No, not at all.
And I have to say that this is the point in the book where I, like, put the Kindle down and just side-eyed the fuck out of my husband, who didn't do anything to deserve it. And he was like, why are you looking at me like that? I hate him. I hate him, and I want you to hate him too, okay? That was...
Oh, yeah. Let me just tell you, at this point, I'm going to say right at the middle of the book, I didn't like anybody. I didn't even like his sister because I thought she was too clever.
I liked
her.
So I don't know. I'm just hard to please, I guess.
She was at least some comic relief, too.
My best friend who read the book said she thought that Go was supposed to be us. You know? Oh. Like, she goes, I thought that she represented, like, our point of view where, like, we want to believe in Nick, but then he keeps making it really hard to believe in him.
Yes.
And she, you know, she noticed, Bob says I over-identified with Amy at that point. Don't forget it. No.
And the chapter ends midway, his last chapter before the midpoint, where he goes to the woodshed behind his sister's house to get his clue. And at this point, we are told that Amy was pregnant when she died or went missing, and the 5th anniversary is wood. She even says in her diary entry something about a wooden cradle. So we're expecting him to open this woodshed, and there's going to be like this wooden cradle, and what he finds instead is all of the stuff he supposedly bought with the credit cards that put him into debt. And
I was terrified for him to open that woodshed too.
And he knew before he opened it. Remember, he got it because he started realizing that all the places that she was leading him to were places that he had had sex with his mistress. Yep. So he was getting it. And when he opened it, it ends with, if you guys remember, no, 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 no. Because
I thought it was going to be Andy in there. I thought it was going to be the mistress in there.
Oh, just dead?
Yes.
No, I didn't know.
I
remember with her being pregnant and mentioning the cradle, and I was like, oh my God, what's in the woodshed?
Oh,
because I just thought it was something really macabre. And then, of course, you get that twist.
Bob said he never believed that the purchases were Nick's. I did.
Oh.
I didn't, because it seemed out of character. He was such like a low-key, Midwest dude. It didn't seem...
But if he's like in it for the money, which there were some indications that money was important to him and things were, well, from her point of view, again, if you believe
all from her diary entries.
Right,
yeah.
right. So now the twist is he opens it, he finds all the shit that he supposedly didn't buy.
Right.
And the second part of the book kicks off with Amy's point of view, but now it's her not dead. Mm-hmm. I think it kicks off with one day dead, like she's supposed to have been, or a few hours missing or something.
Right, and rubber glove, snap, snap.
Yes.
Yeah.
We find out that Amy has masterminded this whole thing. She has set up her own disappearance, faked her death, and she has been setting him up for this because she did find out a year prior that he was cheating on her with one of his
diary was all false, that she had been writing it for years.
She sat down with what I loved was that woman sat down with a jar of 36 pins. Remember?
32, but yes.
Yeah, she was just like making sure that nobody could say, oh, they were all written with the same pen and we could do forensics until it was the same ink.
You realize that diary is fake, I think, is the first click to this woman's a genius, but she is terrifying.
When I realized she was psychotic was when and this is when I realized, this is the other thing I was going to say. She's so, my mother used to say this to me, you're so smart, you're stupid. Because I would be so book smart, and then I do something really dumb and get in trouble, and she'd be like, a really smart person wouldn't do that. I felt like Amy was too smart for her own good, and she had too much of an ego. So when she's out in hiding, why are you sitting watching a show about your disappearance, even though you're disguised with some woman who can look at you at any moment and say, but she was too smart. And so when I realized she was psychotic was when the woman made an observation about Amy and how Amy was probably a spoiled rich bitch and blah, blah, blah. And the woman goes to the bathroom and Amy goes and spits in the woman's milk, orange juice, and potato salad. I put the book down and boxed some friends and I was like, okay, this bitch is psychotic. Right. Then I realized she's psychotic.
I hate to say it, but the more I was reading and the more she starts talking about what was the 7th pregnancy of her mother and the only one to survive.
Yes.
And so she had always felt she had to live up to the legacy of all the dead children before her. And then also she talks about her whole life, those books being written about how amazing Amy in the children's books was perfect, but Amy, the real life woman, always was failing. And the parents' subtle little digs at her of, oh, they seem to accept what she did on the surface, but then all of a sudden a book would come out where Amazing Amy did it better than her.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not saying they made her what she was, but you could see how it could wear away at a person.
That was going to be my question. Nanea, do you think that, because at one point, now that we know Amy is crazy, and he figures it out, right? Because now when he opens this woodshed and it's all the shit he didn't buy, then, he's like, please come home so I can fucking kill you. I love that. I love when he was now allowed to be himself because he had a temper and he had a way about him. And now that Gillian no longer had to kind of write around that so we wouldn't see it coming, he just turned into himself. But at that point, Nanea, did you think that her parents, because I think he hints at that he felt like her parents helped make her that way. Do you think that had anything, or was she just born a psychopath?
No, I thought she was just a sociopath.
Okay.
Just a sociopath.
See, I thought that I don't think anybody's bad parenting can turn you into a complete psychopath, but at the same time, it could take a person who was already on the brink and just give them that little nudge over that they needed. You know what I mean?
But I could also see that if I mean, if she's a sociopath, I don't think it would matter who her, like, she would have found some way, because everybody in her life disappoints her and has to be punished. And it doesn't matter if they're a really nice friend or a really good guy or whatever it is. So she could have had totally normal parents, and she would have made up a story about why they disappointed her and found a way to fuck them over.
Nick, as he's figuring it out, he goes and he starts talking to people who she has in the past accused of stalking her, raping her. And so as we're now getting all of these people's stories, it's now like a reverse. What Nick is doing paints a picture of Amy that totally corroborates the story she's telling herself. Did you guys notice that? You know what I mean? It was like, you know, unless we still had doubts, we find out about the guy who, you know, slighted her. She accused him of rape.
Right, the girlfriend in high school who wasn't a good enough friend to Amy's taste.
Or who started getting more attention than Amy.
Right,
like did a little bit better in grades. You know,
and forgot to wait for her.
Right.
Outside of class or whatever it was.
And you
so it shows you, like Linnea said, it would never take much with her.
Right.
Which is what makes her scary.
That's what Bob says. And he wants to know, are women more or less likely to forgive Nick for his affair? He already knows my stance on this issue.
Are women more like just regular, not crazy, psychotic women?
Yeah, us, women readers. Do we forgive him for his affair?
I didn't at first. When I did kind of feel bad for him was when it wasn't when he fell out of love. I felt like I was in the beginning. I like Linnea. I was just like, this motherfucker. But once he talked about falling out of, like, I felt bad for him. And then of course when you find out she's a fucking psycho, then it was just kind of like. However, I will say that I rooted for Amy more than I should have, even when I found out she was psychotic.
I know, because like I said in the chat, like, you know, when I found out about the diary and that she sat down and wrote that, I was like, in a weird way, I totally admired her discipline. And like, wow, that's and I think that she portrayed. I had said this to my friends, that she portrayed both sides of women, because you can be that sort of doormat enabler who, whenever things go wrong, you're like, how can I make it better? Mm-hmm. You know, I just need to bear this. But then when she flips it, that's also the other side of women. That's the woman scorned, where I will fuck you up.
And that's what I was rooting for. And I will tell you that I was telling Jordan and Allegra, I don't know if I ever believed, maybe she believed it, but I don't know if I ever really believed. No, I did believe it. I think she was lying to us. Her plan was not to kill herself. And then her money is stolen by the people that her neighbors in this like kind of like cabin community that she's been hiding out in, which, I know it was necessary as a writer, as a plot point. She had to lose everything to turn the story. However, I was so angry because I thought she's supposed to be smarter than that.
Right. I think she's smart about the things she does, but she's never able to predict other people because she's so sociopathic that her plans always seem to fall apart when they involve another person. Right. You know, when they involve getting friendly with this redneck and this abused woman who clearly aren't as smart as she is.
Right. So she
takes into account maybe they are pretty clever and maybe they're about to fuck you over. Yeah. It seems like she's super smart about anything she's 100% in control of for herself. But once she integrates that other person, people constantly surprise her. You know,
because she underestimates that.
The other thing I thought was cool in middle of the book is, of course, now he's inquiring with all these people, these people that she has wronged in the past and hoping to learn from it, maybe hoping to rally them to support him. And he meets up with her old boyfriend, who, I can't remember the guy's name. What was his name? The
Desi.
Mother.
Desi,
right. He meets up with him, and this guy's madly in love with Amy still. Even though she's been betrayal to him and everything, he's still in love with her. And Desi starts talking to Nick about, and this is another thing I highlighted, he said, you realize that in her life you're actually Abel Andy at first, which is Abel Andy is the other character in the book who is essentially the Ken doll of the Amazing Amy books.
Right.
Just window dressing, who does everything she wants and is the perfect boyfriend, husband, whatever. And he says, and then she starts to see your flaws. She realizes you're a regular person she has to deal with, and in real life, Able Andy would never make it with Amazing Amy, so her interest fades. And he talks about she makes you stop feeling good, you feel cold, and you're naked on the bathroom floor, and all you want to do is get back in the bath. And it really illustrates what her power is over manipulating people, that she can make you feel like you're the perfect man. But when she takes it away, it's something bad's going to happen to you.